Thank you. My name is Bas Bergstra and I'm a managing consultant at Capgemini in the Netherlands, an expert for Microsoft Dynamics 365. Today we will explain and show you how marketing has become the new pre-sales, and we will also compare Microsoft Dynamics 365 marketing with ClickDimensions to see how and if these two solutions differ from each other. Before we will dive into Dynamics marketing, we will, I would like to share a bit on marketing automation. Because first of all, what is marketing? Well, marketing is the new sales, and there's several reasons for that. First of all, customers or leads are not talking to sales anymore initially in the sales process because they are browsing corporate websites. They are contacting peers in social media to find out more about their needs, potential vendors, and finally, they're also consuming a lot of online content to become more sophisticated, and then they decide where they want to aim at. So that means that 60% of the sale is already completed before the actual start of the sales engagement. And a key element in this are the customer journeys, because the customer journeys are the steps that leads and prospects follow before they will actually make the purchase. The experiences that customers have, or leads obviously, determine whether or not they will proceed their customer journey that will lead to the purchase of your product or the product of your clients. So those experiences are decisive. When we look at marketing automation solutions for Dynamics marketing, for Dynamics 365 that is, we can see that both solutions offer different kind of pitches, because Microsoft pitches their product as the solution that will turn prospects into business relationships by engagement in meaningful and personalized ways. And this is really key to remember later on in the demo that I will give. On the other hand, the pitch for ClickDimensions seems to be a bit more technical, because they focus on being a platform for marketing, intelligence, analytics, and services for Dynamics. When we look at the marketing challenge, it's important to understand, well, this is something, the first quote that I already learned back in college, that marketing is all about waste, because a lot of expenditure in marketing is waste, because it's not effective. Well, as I said in college, or at least when I was in college, they used to say that half of the spend was waste. Well, now it seems like 2/3, or 2/3 is actually waste. And the reason for that is that many organizations nowadays seem to fail to meet the critical success factors for marketing automation or marketing in general. When we zoom into those critical success factors, we can see that understanding customer motivations, delivery via appropriate media mix, and accurate messaging are the keys, or are the critical success factors, and they are interrelated. So if organizations understand these critical success factors well, then they will become successful and have less waste. When we look at the features of both Microsoft Dynamics 365 and ClickDimensions, we can see that for each critical success factor, there is a number of features available. And although the names for those features are different, like Dynamics Marketing refers to segments, whereas ClickDimensions refers to marketing lists, which is actually resembling the old name of marketing for Dynamics CRM in the old days. Those features actually do the same thing, as we will show in a bit. The other features show a similar pattern, like customer journeys. They're called customer journeys, obviously, in Microsoft Dynamics 365, while in ClickDimensions, they're referred to as campaign automations, but they are serving the same purpose. Finally, when we look at messaging, both solutions offer, well, marketing emails that can be personalized, as well as marketing content on the internet, referred to as web content in case of ClickDimensions. Well, after this short introduction of a bit of theory, I would like to zoom into the journey that we will use for the demo. which is about the Contoso 3D printer. Because over here, there's an overview of the customer journey that in this case, Carleen Avery, or Avery for that matter, positioned on the top right, will pursue when she's becoming interested in purchasing a 3D printer, which is positioned on the top, on the below right here. This is a 3D printer. And as you could see, this customer journey contains several marketing initiatives, but most importantly, 60% of this customer journey has to do with marketing. So before sales comes into play, already 60% has been completed. And as I just stated, it's important or critical for that matter, that the experiences that Carleen has during the first part of the customer journey, the 60%, is positive, because otherwise she will move to another supplier of 3D printers. And the final 40% is obviously about sales engagement. While sales engagement, especially since the coronavirus crisis that we are facing today, is a tough call because salespeople are now very limited in having face-to-face meetings. So this even strengthens the importance of the marketing part of the customer journey, because it needs to be very effective. Otherwise, the remaining 40% might still be a challenge. So before I will zoom into the demo, let me please request you to enter questions in the chat window. And because of time constraints, we will try to deal with those questions after the demo in a short Q&A part. Now let's zoom into Dynamics Marketing, because now, as you could see, this is a welcome message to Alicia. And Alicia is our marketing manager, and she's responsible for setting up the customer journey for the 3D printer. Well, as you saw in the previous slide, the customer journey will start with a social post. And let me illustrate how that looks in Microsoft Dynamics Marketing. It's now loading a calendar. And this calendar provides an overview of all the social posts that were set or planned in the next days or in the past. And if we look at the specific post, for example, this one for the 3D printer, and we can click on it, it's showing more details about the post. So now it's loading the screen with details about the printer post. For example, over here, you can select the channel. Obviously, you can also add the message, and you can add media. And the media, well, it can regard images, and they will be included in the Twitter post. So let's see how that looks. And for that, I will show a short video. So this is Carleen opening a browser, and she will go to Twitter to find the post that was published by Alicia. As you can see, the post resembles the information that was entered in Microsoft Dynamics, as well as the image of the 3D printer. Because this is interesting to Carleen, she clicks on the link that came along with the post, and this link leads to a landing page with information about the 3D printer. When she looks at the information, she becomes more interested, and more important, she's actually interested in the brochure about the 3D printer, and she enters her details. And those details are obviously important because they allow for a follow-up of the customer journey. As you could see over here, I pause a bit because the preferred contact method, this is something that's important for the follow-up, as I will show in just a bit. Let's proceed with the video. There's a nice thank you confirmation that was also set up in Dynamics Marketing. And when she proceeds the journey, I will show what happens, because as you could see in her inbox, there's a free brochure, a product brochure. And this email was sent via Dynamics Marketing. She opens up the email and it shows content that was also generated via Dynamics Marketing, including the brochure, obviously. And the fact that she has opened the email and reviewed it is registered in Dynamics. And this leads to the next part of the journey, which is the fact that another email will be sent to her as part of the customer journey. Let's see where it goes. Okay, let's return real quick here. So the inbox now also contains an invite for the event. And the event is the Contoso 3D print show. When she looks to the details of the invite, she becomes interested and she hits the register now button. And this information is also generated by Dynamics Marketing, and it includes information about the speakers, obviously, but also the sessions, of course. And this will trigger more interest for the 3D printer, because he now also wants to register for the event. And this is another landing page, obviously, for the registration. So when Carleen has entered her details, she can enter the checkout, and she will receive an invite for the event, obviously. So let me now return to our user, which is Alicia Talmer. And Alicia is responsible for, obviously, for the customer journey. So let me now zoom into the customer journey that she has set up. Let's discard this, because over here is an overview of all the customer journeys, and the customer journeys of the video are included here. Because as you could see, this journey, this is an overview of the journey, contains tiles, and in each tile represents a scheduler, an event, or an action. For example, this is the action, and then the email is sent. And for example, over here we have a scheduler, like we need to wait before an hour after she was registered for the event, and then the event can take place. And if she attended the event, she can be created as lead. So let's now zoom into that, because over here in the section lead, there is Carleen Avery, our lead, and she has been registered into the system. Her details are here, just as she entered them in the website, as well as the topic, because obviously she's interested in the 3D printer, in the brochure. And over here you find a lead score. And this means that she has earned, so to speak, a number of points. And those points, make her interesting as a lead. And let's zoom into the scoring model, because the scoring model informs how the points are being given. Because over here you find an overview of conditions and actions. For example, if a lead opens up an email, then that lead earns 20 points. On the other hand, if somebody downloads like the form, then 40 points are earned. Well, if we return to the lead again, we can see in the business process flow, I assume that most people are familiar with the business process flow. If not, this is like the process that's being completed before the lead can be qualified. Now, the lead is in the so-called Tele Prospecting stage. And this is, well, a Microsoft term for telemarketing. And that means that it's now time to move to another character of our demo, because our telemarketer, it's Sanya Shah. And she will find the same lead as we just saw in the list of marketing page leads. And to follow up on this lead, Sanya will click the call guide. And the call guide will lead to forms. Well, that's at least the feature that's listed over here. And this is a call guide to find out more information about the lead, like not only personal details, but also business details. And this can be used, well, obviously because we have her telephone number. And after this information has been entered, the teleprospector can set this field over here as accepted, and then this lead will be handed over to sales. And sales will then follow up to do the actual qualification, because at this point the lead has still not been completed as qualified. Well, let me now return to the presentation, because I would like to make a comparison between Dynamics Marketing and ClickDimensions. And I will do that not by zooming into the actual application of ClickDimensions, but by comparing a few screens of critical features. First of all, if you look at the customer journey, we already saw it. It's really important to understand that the customer journey functionality in Dynamics contains insights, and insights are used for statistics. And when we look at the equivalent of ClickDimensions, first of all, this is the ClickDimensions form. There is not an overview of the journey yet. You still have to click on Open Builder, and that's a button in the ribbon. And the builder will then open the overview of the customer journey. And well, you can tell that the icons look quite different, but also the functionality, like the insights, is missing here. If we compare another area of the functionality, like the social post, like I mentioned, the calendar contains an overview of all the posts, whereas in ClickDimensions, here are the details for the post. In ClickDimensions, there is no overview of the posts that are scheduled. Moreover, you need to have a connector for a social profile. So it seems to be a bit more effort than in Dynamics Marketing to set up a social post. Another area that I would like to compare is the landing page, because the landing page in Dynamics can be prepared, but also previewed, as you can see over here. On the other hand, if we look at the landing pages in ClickDimensions, they do not include a preview. Well, not directly for that matter. I mean, if you open the design page, it opens up a separate pop-up screen, and that comes along with a designer and a preview. So it seems like it's a bit more effort to set up landing pages in ClickDimensions. Another area has to do with the lead scoring model. The lead scoring model in Dynamics, as I just showed, looks very straightforward. You could easily determine how the points are earned. On the other hand, if we look at ClickDimensions, not only do you have to change the navigation area over here on the below left, but you also need to look quite careful to find the score settings. And if you find them, you will see that it's quite limited to set scores. You only have scores available for certain events, so it's not really scalable. Finally, if we look at the lead qualification process, well, this is actually an area which has the most similarities between the two solutions. Because if we look at the screen for Dynamics Marketing and compare it with ClickDimensions, you could see that the form looks quite similar, but also the business process flow, which makes perfect sense because that's easy to mimic. But the key thing missing here is the lead score because it's not really prominent visible. In addition, you also miss out on the relationship analytics if you opt for ClickDimensions, as well as the LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Well, this brings up the verdict. If we compare the two solutions for marketing automation, Dynamics 365, the critical success factors for the marketing challenge, again, the challenge is that there's a lot of waste. They can be fulfilled, well, pretty much by both applications. They both comply. So it seems like it's a matter of taste whether or not you opt for Dynamics 365 marketing or for ClickDimensions. I personally kind of prefer Microsoft Dynamics Marketing, even though that the license model of ClickDimensions seems to be more economical. That is that it's less costly. Moreover, the customer support of ClickDimensions is also outstanding, even without having like an official subscription. They provide a lot of support, so it is kind of in favor of ClickDimensions. Well, that brings us to the next element of this presentation, which are the questions and answers. So let's find out if there are any questions and answers in the chat.
So, Bas, thank you very much for your presentation. At this moment, we don't have any questions, so I think everything is crystal clear. I did prepare a little question for you. What I really liked about your talk is how you laid out the customer journey and walked through the marketing process, and how important it is that you focus your 60% of that cycle on marketing, where the other 40% is on sales. I know you as someone who is advocating that marketing and sales needs to work very closely together, because in order to have this efficient process. With regards to marketing and sales working together, do you see any trend in this happening, in how to smoothen this?
Yeah, I think the trend, first of all, is really leveraged, I mean, by Dynamics, because the Dynamics platform now offers two very powerful solutions. Because in the past, it used to be that sales was really strong, but marketing was kind of lagging. But now with the Dynamics 365 platform, both sales and marketing can opt for the same solution. And that brings them naturally together in the same application. So that's like the first really real enablement, so to speak, of those two parties working together. Another thing is that in the past, many marketing departments really used to outsource a lot of things like campaigns to agencies. And now because the marketing maturity in organizations is increasing, they're now also able to run campaigns themselves. And then when they are configuring Dynamics Marketing, they are sharing the same data as sales and vice versa. So that also really helps out. So actually, my point is that it's all thanks to Dynamics Marketing. Now, I'm just kidding. It's not really like that, but in real life, it's also because of the larger trend that, if you look at consumers, they are more and more focused on online content, but that the same consumer is obviously also a business person. So what somebody does in private is also likely behavior in a business-to-business context. So companies are more or less obliged to comply with that.
Yeah, that makes sense. And having that data now in one application helps.
Exactly. The common data service really makes it really easy for the information that was, because it goes both ways, right? I mean, if sales has found out things about their customers, that can also be used to do segmentation by marketing for new products and services. So it works both ways.
And
Thanks to the common data service, they use the same data indeed.
And do you see maybe that's one bridge too far for now, but do you see a trend where maybe marketing and sales work more closely together, or maybe even become one department?
No, I still think that it's that there's a motivation to have both specialties, both business functions, because what we also expect or see is that sales become more technical. And in the end of the day, that's where they add value. Like if you go to a car dealership, you don't expect the car dealer to provide like basic information anymore, but you really expect them to come up with added value in the conversation. So sales is definitely here to stay, but their role will become, I guess, more specialized, more technical, to add value. So they really need to add value on top of the things that marketing has already provided to customers.
Okay, and with that online experience, the handover from marketing to sales becomes even more important, right? Because sales
Yes,
has
indeed, because
visibility on
sorry.
that user. So with all the information gathered from online channels, you don't want to have that frustration by the end user to reach out on either not their preferred channel or information that has already been collected through that journey.
Yes, indeed, because obviously it's quite cumbersome if sales comes up with like in the demo, if they propose, well, have you already seen our brochure? I can send it to you, and the lead in our case has well read the brochure way before. So sales needs to also be aware of the fact that certain events took place, like also the attendance of the event with the demo. So they can zoom into that, and that's why the handover from marketing to sales is quite critical, because sales really need to know what has happened before in the journey and where they can add value.
Yeah, that makes sense. In the meantime, we have one question from the visitors, from Colin from Meulen. If you need to call out one feature that would be determining factor to make the choice between Dynamics 365 for marketing and ClickDimensions, which feature would that be?
Well, after having used both applications, I think it has to do with the usability, because in the end of the day, when we do projects at clients, we first configure the solution, and then we hand over like a configured solution to the business users. And what I found is that if you do a handover of the solution in in Dynamics Marketing, it's way more intuitive than it is in ClickDimensions. So usability, I think it's key, because obviously we are involved during the project stage, but when things are moving to operations, then it's really important to have a user-friendly application that is easy to learn, right?
Yes, that makes sense.